Good night song, like good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Boom, 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 boom. All right. I used to love Shanana. All right, a little bit about me. My name is Patricia Barrett Wolfson, and I'm a coach and an energy practitioner who helps people simplify transformation through the Me First method, which I developed over 12 years ago. And I have used this method with clients and personally to move through challenging times. So I am here to help you in any way that I can with my experience and fortitude. All right, so if you have not yet subscribed to my channel and you're new to my channel, well, I guess, check it out. And if you like it, subscribe. You can go to YouTube at Me First TV, and there you will find hours and hours of content about the Me First method, the GPS, the ABCs, things that I talk about in the show a lot, and more tips and strategies to navigate your everyday challenges while still looking after yourself and your family. And if you have not yet downloaded your free guide, it's a free guide with simple transformation practices. I'm laughing because I have it jotted down in my notes to remind me to tell you guys to download this free thing, and it says Me First TV guide, and every time I look at it I just see the TV guide part, so I'm like, I'm giving out the TV guide. But most people don't know what the TV guide is these days because nobody uses the TV guide. But that's another story, and I digress. Hello, ADHD. Okay, so back to the free Me First TV guide with simple transformation practices. You can go into the description and download it, and it includes things such as how to calibrate your energy, a Me First Moments ritual, which we will do together on the show, and we do every time I'm on here, a quick GPS activity, your daily ABCs, and a simple guide to managing stress. Now, if you don't know anything that I was just talking about, keep watching. You'll learn some of it, or just go to my YouTube channel and you'll learn all about it there. All right, so I want to talk about parenting today. Parenting is truly one of the most challenging responsibilities that we have for those of us who are fortunate enough to be parents, especially if you choose to be a conscious or mindful parent who is actively working to dissolve old habits or limiting beliefs about worthiness that have run in your family. So many of us come from stories and systems in society. I mean, certainly systems, we're all a part of it, that have kept us from knowing our value, our true worth. And I truly believe that the inner work that is most needed is in people connecting deeply with themselves to align with their true essence, their true value, which is love, compassion, and kindness. And each one of these qualities embodies respect and deep value for humanity. And it is with this presence that we can create lasting change for all of us, right? But I truly believe we need to begin with ourselves. We need to start with ourselves and at home. And we can't just snap our fingers and wish for world peace, as much as I know pretty much everybody I know would do that. But we can certainly begin in our home, in our minds, in our hearts, right? And specifically with our kids, we may actually have a lasting impact, or so we hope. They need us to set an example of how to be good humans and contributing members of society so that they, in turn, can take care of humanity when we're gone, right? Sounds easy enough, right? Sure, unless you struggle with setting boundaries or limits because you don't want to crush your child's spirit, or you're the type of parent that does everything for their kids. Okay, if either of those sound like you, you're in the right place. I, too, am one of those parents. Both of those things apply to me. I definitely struggle with setting boundaries, but we're going to talk about that a little bit more after. And I am also the type of parent that does everything for my kids because I want to be there for them. And I do, at this point, way too much because they're not at the age where I have to do everything for them. And so I started using and teaching aspects of the Me First method with my kids. When I finally started to integrate the Me First method, I finally started to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And all of a sudden, everything changed at home. Now, everything changed, but it's not changed completely. The transformation isn't complete. This is a daily calibration. We are always adjusting. And if you've watched the show before, I talk a lot about practice and I talk a lot about adjusting, right? And so we're going to continue talking about those things, and I'm going to talk about them in as many different ways as possible because I really want you to integrate this information as much as possible if it's helpful, because I know how it has transformed the way I look at things. And I just want to talk more about that, but I first want to start with our me first ritual so that we can get grounded. And it's actually, I usually say grounded for the day, but it is the evening. So maybe this will set you up for a peaceful night. Or actually, it is YouTube. Maybe you're not watching this at night. Maybe you're watching this in the morning, in which case this will ground you for the day. Whatever time you're watching this, it will help. And I always recommend doing this routine anyway, at any time of day, whenever you need a little extra support. All right, so I like to start by lighting a candle. It begins the session, it calls in the light. I use my Eggs McManus candle, which I created, which is Eggs McManus is my husband's artistic name. For those of you who did not know that he was an artist, he was a pediatrician, but he was an artist in his heart and also did a lot of his art in his life, which I always encouraged him to do because I loved it. It was really fun, such as my tattoo. Oh, my neck. See, that's my husband designed this. I didn't get the tattoo until after he passed away, but that's another story. Okay, let's get started. So let's put some essential oils. We lit the candle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 deep breaths together. Okay, and I want you to take these deep breaths, and we want these to sort of settle our minds, so that we want these breaths to be calming, and we also want them to help us release anything that isn't working for us and to increase our capacity for life-giving breath, right? A lot of purposes for these breaths, but what it really is that these 3 breaths that we're going to do together are going to support you in so many more ways than you can't even imagine the impact that it can have for you if you continue to do exercises such as this, and we do this. It's such a quick thing that we do together. It's like a 5-minute exercise, which may feel long for some people, but really it's not, and it can really be a game changer. Okay. So we're going to do 3 deep breaths. You're going to breathe in through your nose and just inhale for 5 seconds. You're going to hold for another 5 seconds, and then you're going to release by forcing the air out, pursing it through pursed lips, and you're going to imagine yourself just releasing all of the tension that you need, everything you've collected today, anything that doesn't serve you, just like blow it right out of your body. It's okay. Nothing broke. We're good. Okay. All right. So let's do these 3 deep breaths together. Clearly, I need to take a breath and take a moment. All right. And if you're here, say hi. Let me know that you're watching. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I took a deep breath to take a deep breath. All right. Whatever. Okay. Deep breath. Number 1. And hold. And release. Did I say that the exhale was going to be 10 seconds and longer than the inhale? If I didn't say that, I'm going to repeat it now. Inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 10, because that exhale being longer than the inhale signals to your body that everything's okay. All right, here we go again. Breathe in. Hold. And release. Okay, last time, one more deep breath. Hold. And release. I very often will already start to do my stretches as I release that last breath, because it really helps to be breathing out when you're releasing tension. Okay, so I want you to just do a little stretching wherever you can. I just do sort of the neck and the head because, we're doing this together. On my own, I will also include my legs, touch my toes, stretch my back, twist myself as much as I can, and just do a quick little loosening up of the body, a loosening up of the tension, right? Or any pain that you're feeling, breathe into it a little bit. And just release it. We just do it a little bit together, okay? But if you're on your own and doing this on your own, you can do it as long as you want. You can do a whole yoga session. You can do breath work. You can do whatever you like, right? And then we end it with just shaking it out. Oh, I haven't worn my bracelets in so long. It's making noise again. Okay, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. And just imagine yourself just like all this stuff that doesn't serve you coming off your body and just like dead skin, okay, onto the ground, and let Mother Nature take care of it. That's what she does best. She transmutes the old garbagey stuff and turns it into beautiful flowers. And that's what she's going to do. All right. Now I'd like us to set our intention together. Call in for the spiritual support team. You can do it in whatever way you feel is appropriate for you, by saying a prayer, setting an intention, sitting in silence, whatever you prefer. I will say the prayer that I normally say if you watch this show, and if you get that free guide, it's in there if you'd like to follow along. All right, here we go. Divine Mother, Infinite Father, Creator, Ascended Masters, Archangels, Spirit Guides, Ancestors, my love, and all beings of 100% pure white light, allow me to be a clear and open channel of your light and love without hesitation or ego. May the highest vibration of infinite consciousness connect with my higher self and release any and all things that no longer serve me. I ask that Saint Germain and his infinitely powerful violet flame burn away the things that no longer serve myself or humanity and hold us back from our divine existence. Help us to embody our intentions for the day and help us raise the collective vibration for the highest and greatest good of all. Thank you for sending any signs and synchronicities and messages, allowing them to resonate through anyone who's listening so they may hear the exact message they need to move forward in their life in complete and total alignment with their highest and greatest good for the highest and greatest good of all. Thank you. So be it, and so it is. Okay, thank you for those of you who have joined me. Feel free to say hi if you're here, or you can just listen. Oh my goodness, I keep hitting that thing. Okay, a little sip of water. All right, let's talk about parenthood. Woo! That's a little thing I do every time, like, my kids drive me crazy. I break out into that song. I'll usually say motherhood or parenthood or some sort of sing-songy thing. Helps release tension. So you're welcome if it helps you too. Okay. So it's been an interesting journey for me. I've always wanted to be a mom. Ever since I was a little girl waiting desperately for my little brother to arrive when I was 9 years old. I just wanted someone to play with so desperately. And when he came and he was so little and he was so cute, all I wanted was to be a parent from that moment onward. And I'm truly blessed, because even though my brother Andrew was great practice, it was a dream of mine to have my own kids. And I'm so grateful for them. They are truly my favorite people on the planet. However, what I did not realize, and what nobody tells you, is how much personal healing I was going to have to do in order to be the type of parent that I want to be. Yeah, I'm going to let that sit with you because I'm sure it happened for you too. I mean, I'm so privileged. I was raised by both my parents, and aside from the common, my parents are drive me crazy kind of stuff, I didn't experience consistent and damaging trauma. So I figured that being a mom would just be a natural evolution of life. Not the hardest thing I've ever done. Now, granted, I will say that I think that things these days are on a whole other level of intensity in parenting. Also, being from the Gen X generation, I just want to put this out there for those of you who are also Gen X. I kind of feel like our generation was both responsible for themselves at that young age and now also responsible for our kids. Like, we've held the responsibility for everyone. It's a lot of weight. Just want to put that out there. So if you can relate, let me know. If you're Gen X and you're like, yeah, man. Because, think about it. Our parents were like, they didn't really get involved in our stuff. They didn't engage us. It wasn't that kind of thing. We had to kind of figure it out. The only rule was that we could not basically get in trouble, because if we got in trouble, then the shit would hit the fan. But as long as we didn't get in trouble, it was pretty much carte blanche, and we were responsible for figuring things out and doing things however we saw fit. And dare we not get in trouble, otherwise it was going to be a whole story. And now, as a parent, let me guess, you Gen Xers out there, your parents blame you if your kids are doing things that they think they shouldn't be. They'll be like saying that it's your parenting. However, they didn't really take responsibility for their parenting. So I just wanted to put this out there as a message for those of us who've been struggling with that, because it just brings parenting to a whole other level when you feel like you are like responsible for absolutely every single thing, responsible for managing every single thing in your child's life, their social calendar, their sports schedule. I mean, the scheduling and stuff was always that, but like the emotional stuff, again, emotional stuff was in there, but there's so many pieces now that I feel like we didn't really have support for that. And now we are trying to figure out how to create that support for us and create that support for our children. And that's really where this whole conversation comes from. Okay. So I have great kids, all right? And, they are healthy. So my struggles do not compare to others. So I'm, joking around with you, but, I can only speak to you from my experience as a mom who's had to navigate a lot of questions, emotions, and very big life transitions, especially over the last few years. And I would also like to mention that although I'm a life coach and I have taught parenting courses, I'm also a human. And there are days that I'm definitely not at my best and my kids think I'm the worst and I've ruined their life, right? But up until COVID happened, and then even more so now since managing life without Scott, I wasn't really implementing my coaching strategies with my kids. I didn't think about it. It was like coach, mom, coach is coach and then mom is mom, right? I didn't put those two together. And it took so much time and patience it takes a lot of time and patience to really implement certain things that I don't think I had the mental fortitude for it. But once Scott passed away, I realized I could no longer do everything by myself because I didn't have backup, right? He was there to engage the kids and do household chores, and he managed a lot of the financial responsibilities. And now it all falls on me. So once again, I just want to say I'm very privileged and I have an incredible support system around me, full of family and friends and an incredible community. But I've had to step into my power and leadership at home in a way that I really didn't have to do previously, okay? And so I want to share with you how implementing some of my me first method or, certain aspects has impacted my life. And I actually created, I'm so excited because I've started creating little graphics because I'm trying to, fix up the show. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let's try this one. Does this work? Yes. Okay, so number one, it has helped me to ground myself and get super clear on what I need to function. Right? Now, we can talk about, what we need to thrive all day long. But if you're not even taking care of your basic needs and not functioning, that's where you need to begin. Okay? And that's what I feel like me first really helps with. Okay. Secondly, it has taught me how to practice solutions, new habits, and new ways of thinking. I mean, I was doing this with my clients and I was doing this on a personal level for myself, but I wasn't really bringing it into the home the way I have. And it's really been so helpful. Okay, it has reduced the fighting about chores and taking responsibility for their choices, right? Because, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. Being grounded with a strong foundation has made it much easier to set boundaries and stick to them without feeling guilty about traumatizing my children. Because, for real, I think about that, okay? Lastly, integrating the language of practice and creating habits with my kids helped create a progress or growth mindset and a successful framework for the future, right? And so I'm talking about this because I want you guys to know the benefits of, because I use me first and it's the title. And so, of course, it sounds like, oh, me first, I'm putting myself first. Yes, you are, because that's what you need to do. Because You need to take care of yourself. You need to be the leader. You need to create the foundation where your children and your family can thrive. So if you are not creating that foundation, you are, just overwhelmed, stressed out, and everything is all over the place, right? Believe me, I know. Okay. Now, I want to be clear. The Me First method works on me. I don't really talk to the kids about the Me First method. I certainly, talk about practice and creating habits, and I use the terminology, and I certainly use the principles of it, but I don't sit there and tell them, let's do the Me First method, because they would just shut down. They don't give a crap. Okay. All right. So I want to talk about, I always heard people talking about having a hard time with boundaries, with their kids, but I didn't really resonate with that. I didn't think I had boundary issues, right? I just looked at it from the perspective of giving my kids freedom and choices that empower them, right? But here's what I've learned from my experience, from the endless classes that I've taken and books that I've read, from Dr. Becky's TikToks, if you don't know her, she's awesome. And hours of conversations with friends who are teachers and way better at things like that than I am. Here's what I'm going to say. Kids need boundaries. They really, really do. And for those of you who know this is a given, you already know this, and you've been telling me this for years, so just keep your I told you so to yourself and move along. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, all right. But I'm going to share with you how I was finally able to see it from a perspective that really resonated with me and the type of parent that I want to be. And I'm sharing this with you because I'm hoping it will help you too. All right. I wanted to give my kids choices. All right. But they need a framework, like a boundary. It is a boundary, right? But I wasn't really understanding that terminology in this sense, okay? They need a framework, a space to play in, and then they can feel free to make a choice, right? So I wasn't seeing it in that, if you tell your kids, like, go run out onto that field, right? But like, be careful because there could be dangerous things out there. Then they're paralyzed. They don't know how far they can go. They don't know where the danger is. And we're giving them, choices and giving them autonomy, and we think we're empowering them, but they need to know what is safe, right? And that's the boundary. The boundary establishes the safety, right? The protection. And so that boundary is, hey, you can go here, here, and here. And in here, you go crazy. You have fun. You're totally safe place. Be yourself. Do your thing. Outside of here, that's not for you. And that will give kids a really clear message and really clear instructions on how to keep themselves both safe in order for them to unleash their freedom and sort of their kidness, right? Because if they don't, and it just came to me right now that that's probably part of the problem with the internet, is that if there's no boundaries, kids are like all over the place and they don't know what's safe or what isn't safe, and they can't interpret that for themselves. Okay. But that's a whole other discussion, that digital conversation. But, just in terms of looking at it from that perspective, it's important to understand that the boundaries you create are it's the protection that you put around them. Just like if you're going to grow a garden and you put a little fence so the bunnies can't get in and chew up your garden, right? Okay. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of my experience. When I really cracked down on chores, which we call home tasks at my house, it was COVID, right? And I approached it from the angle that they needed to know how to take care of things in case I got sick, right? It was the beginning of COVID, and Scott was incapacitated and in bed for 2 weeks, and I started to feel sick, and I got really, really nervous because I was like, oh my God, if I go down and Scott's down, these kids, the house is going to go to shit. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I panicked, and I taught them how to do laundry properly. And I taught them to load and unload the dishwasher. I taught them how to cook eggs, peanut butter jelly was a given, but I taught them how to do things around the house so that they can maintain the house in case I became also incapacitated. Now, thankfully I didn't, but that's what I told them. And we had already touched on it before. They had done laundry before. They had, done those things, but they hadn't kept up with it. So they really had no idea what to do. I had to talk them through it again and again. And this is how the idea of practice evolved. Because I realized that if they didn't keep practicing the household tasks, they would never remember how to do them. I mean, certain things, obviously, they would remember. But it occurred to me another day when I was angrily procrastinating and avoiding doing my own home tasks, which I do. I realized that I had never created the habit of taking care of my home. Now, I just want to, I'll explain, okay? So growing up, once again, super privileged, my grandmother lived with me at home. So that meant I had not one, but two Portuguese moms that were doing work at home. So aside from cleaning my room, I didn't really have to do anything. Thanks, Mom and Bob. They pretty much did it all. And as someone who, I've said before, has ADHD, I have a very hard time doing non-preferred tasks. And I can honestly tell you that cleaning and organizing definitely fall into that category for me. So just as I have now had to create habits around maintaining my home organized, I've been teaching the boys those principles too, right? I even partnered with a professional organizing company, Better Living with Andrea in Long Island. And by helping others, I have learned habits that I brought into my home. And my boys have not only seen the results, but they've learned that practicing really does bring progress. They've started to see the change in our home, that the areas are a little bit different. We do things a little bit differently. We're able to keep up with it a little bit more because we've created that habit. And our home is a much more peaceful and organized place than it's ever been. Now, don't get me wrong. There's days where it's a disaster, right? But going from that disaster to an organized place is much less stressful. I don't get as overwhelmed anymore. And I know exactly what to do because I have practiced doing it so much at my house and at other people's houses that now I am confident that I can do it. So it releases the stress and it sort of removes that sticky energy about doing something that I'm not sure how to do or that I don't really want to do. All right. Another reason that another way that I work on and implement the me first method with the boys is that whenever they ask me to do something for them, and this is for those parents that pretty much do everything for their kids, and you find yourself running around, up and down stairs and all over the place because you just want to be there for them, caring for them in every way possible, right? So now, when they ask me to do something for them, I ask myself if it's a skill they need to practice, if it's a habit they need to create, or if it's a boundary that I need to set. And the more I practice that, the clearer it becomes for them, right? So I'll still obviously do things for them. I do things for them all the time. But like I said, under certain circumstances, I'm able to remind myself they need to practice doing this. They need to create this as a habit, right? They need to wake themselves up in the morning. That has to be a habit. They have to create the habit of taking care of whatever they need to take care of, whether it's homework, whether it's home tasks, and integrating it into their day so that once they leave the home, when they go to their own home, they're not like, I don't know how to do this. Because just figuring out how to fit all the things in your day is a huge challenge. It certainly has been for me, and it's definitely something that I still struggle with. But once again, my kids see that I practice every day, or as much as possible, trying to implement these new ideas and integrate these strategies so that I can continue practicing solutions and figuring out which one works best for me and for the family. And, they learn how to create boundaries for themselves. And when they're faced with a challenge, I encourage them to take action based on the information they have, right? And so it's like whenever they come up with a problem or something, we sit down and talk, right? And I ask them, like, what information do you have? What do you know for sure right now? And then we talk about what values are important to them, which really is like the GPS talk. But I don't use the GPS word. I just say, like, what's important to you? What kind of friend do you want to be? What kind of student do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be in the future? And, what from that future can you implement now? Because you have to start creating the habit. You want to be successful, you have to practice being successful right now. Practice successful habits. Practice whatever. The practice begins now. And it's not about, I don't know. For me, just the way I look at it in a practice sense, in creating a habit that then makes things easier, I just feel like it makes it easier for me to push them a little bit on the things that they may normally fight me on. Now they don't fight me the same way as they may have in the past, because they see that that practice needs to be introduced. Plus, things have changed and they know they have to start participating at home in a different way. So all of those things work together, but it really is by you, sort of establishing the foundation. And that's something that I have practiced at home. All right. So I just want to say that if you want more guidance, on how to incorporate this method, because I could be talking about this all day, and there's certainly, things that are specific to implementing within your family. And I've done workshops like that where we talk about a GPS word for each individual in the house, and then working on, what the family GPS word is so that you can create a strong foundation at home. And really that's about creating values. But, then I'd be here all night talking to you about all the resources and all the things that I do. So if you want more guidance, please go ahead and reach out to me. If you need support in any way, just reach out to me through social media. You can book a session. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I talk about this and all sorts of relationships. I talk about how to calibrate your energy, how to manage your energy, overwhelm, and all those things. And hopefully, it will be something that is helpful for you. It's already, we've got, I like to keep track of the time, but I will pull a card because it's my favorite thing to do. So I get to do my favorite thing to do. That's me practicing, doing my favorite things. Okay, so what I want to ask Spirit with these cards is, what advice does Spirit have for us to be in alignment with our highest selves as parents? And how can we, be aligned leaders for our kids? And I talk about leading because as parents, that's what we are. We are leaders, right? Sometimes when you think of just parenting, it gets all sticky because, there's so much emotion caught up in that. But if you think about it yourself as a leader, or you're setting an example where you're empowering, the people who you are leading, where you are giving them the tools in order for them to find their own success, that's really what we are, right? We are, coaches for our kids. We don't play on the team with them. We stand on the sidelines and we sort of give them advice or support or cheer them on. But we, can't be micromanaging the moves as they're on the field. I can't go kick the ball for my son and get it in the goal. It's not going to work. It's not going to count. And he's not going to become a better soccer player if I do that. And we as parents, we often do that in so many other ways, but we don't even see it that way. But that's the practice, right? We have to practice letting our kids fail. We have to practice letting our kids figure things out, right? Within the boundaries of safety. Okay. Let's see, Spirit, what do you got for me? Interesting card. Oh, it was upside down. This is the solitude card, and it's upside down. And guess what that means? Don't leave your kids alone. Literally the message that I got is like, we need to be involved. We need to be connected to our kids. We need to participate in their lives. Just to give you a piece of advice from, everything I do is giving advice, but I'm just sharing my expertise and my thoughts. And I think that sometimes our kids talk to us about things that we really don't care about. And my advice is, listen to the things that you don't really care about, right? Play the video game that you don't want to play. Learn about the characters. Watch some YouTube with your kids. Find out what they're watching. And I'm not a parent that goes through the phones and tries to figure out what they've been doing. I want to sit with them and ask them questions and be like, who's this guy? Actually, I don't ask a lot of questions. I usually just sit around and watch with them, because I find that then I can see where they're coming from certain conversations, because I understand what they're exposed to. Now, I don't see everything that they're exposed to on social media, which is, what we talked about earlier, and that's a whole other thing. But I do believe that this card is telling us, we cannot leave our kids in solitude. We cannot leave them. We cannot just have them create their own independence without us first creating that safe space where they can really plant their seeds on solid ground, so then they can blossom on their own. But if we are not like making sure that their seed is going in an appropriate part of the garden and that they're not getting the appropriate light and sun and like that, that's an analogy, but it's not even an analogy these days, because if the kids don't get outside because they're always on video games, they're literally not getting enough sun. They're literally not growing. They are stunting their growth on many, many levels if they are not coming out of their rooms or if they're not participating. And that's something that, as parents, connecting with our kids and really connecting with them, building a deep bond with our children and really like caring about who they are and what they want out of life, not just what we want them to do, or not just based on what potential we can see or what we want them to have, but based on what they are showing you, based on how they are being, whether they are struggling or not. Your children want to be seen by you. They want to connect to you. They're just figuring things out too. Imagine how overwhelmed, how incensed we become when things don't go our way, and yet we expect our children to have it all figured out and to behave appropriately at every turn. Nobody behaves appropriately at every turn. We just don't. We're learning. And if we can incorporate that message that we're all just practicing. I tell my kids all the time, look, I'm just practicing. I've never been a mom to an 11-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 16-year-old. Never. This is my first time. It's my first time being your mom at this age. It's my first time being a mom to these 3 kids at these stages. It's my first time being a widow, right? None of this is old hat. Everything is new. Just like for your kids, all of their experiences are new. So we have to really add a little bit more kindness and compassion, both for ourselves and for our kids. And remember that there's going to be so many bumps along the way. But if you just encourage them to continue practicing, if you remind yourself that you are also just practicing being the parent that you want to be, practicing being, whatever is important to you as a parent. I don't want to yell at my kids and get into fights with my kids. Obviously, I yell at my kids and get into fights with my kids because, like I said, I'm human. But I also turn around and I make amends and I apologize when my behavior is out of line. I show them how to make amends. I show them how to repair the relationship. And I'm not perfect. I'm practicing. And that's what I encourage for you too, okay? I love you all. Have a wonderful evening and have a good night.